Okay, I welcome you guys again in the session. Uh, Today is the second session of our state for batch for bootcamp. So we will be starting from the SDLC, software development or software developer lifecycle. Okay, what does that mean? Why we are studying SDLC first? Why we should not go about STLC, software testing lifecycle? Because this concept is very important for you guys. You have to understand that how the software made. You don't need to be worried that you have to learn these concepts. These concepts belongs to development team. We teach this concept for the sake of your information, that you have to at least understand that what's going on inside the development phases. So Soft SDLC only deals with what? With the development of the software. We have different models in SDLC. Basically, we can say that SDLC is nothing but a pattern of working or building a project of software. So we divide SDLC into 4 models: waterfall model, V model, incremental model, Scrum or Agile model. Waterfall model is one of the traditional model that people were using in the 1990s early age. So now people are not using waterfall model. What does people do in waterfall model? Was at that time, the project would start from the communication phase. Like yesterday we did, two team will meet together, business people from the client side and business analyst from the company side.
Farhan, can you hit it in the slideshow mode so it will be a little bit larger, visible for all of
Let
us?
me do it. Now is it good?
Perfect.
Okay.
Excuse me, sir. I have a request, if you don't mind.
Yes, sure, please.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, could we have the study materials? Like, since I'm not comfortable with videos, if I go through the YouTube or or watch the videos, uh, I think like I'm not comfortable with that. So, but it will really help me if I could have the materials.
Mhm.
Is it possible for you guys to share all materials with us for the all rest of the class?
Of course,
There,
we will be
uh, uh,
sharing everything. Yeah.
that will be throughout the course. For instance, we will share this presentation with you and any other reference materials that we need, but they will not be shared once, all of them in advance. Every chapter, every portion will be shared throughout the course.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, what people do at that time, the first stage was communication that were happen between the business people and business analyst people. In that phase, only project initiation and requirement gathering was happening. Next step was planning step. Means whenever they get the requirement from the customer, from the client, they write it down in some sort of BRD documents. After that, whenever they come to the office, they sit with the development team. If you consider the side this next part, you see that we have business plus development. Those people were set together and they used to make a plan on they made the estimation cost, they schedule they make the tracking, that how we gonna build this project. Next next stage was modeling stage. It was belongs to development team, that they first do the analysis and last they made the design. So these sorts of stuff were only belongs to the upon the shoulder of the development team. After the design and analysis part, it was only the remaining part was construction and deployment. Construction part was only about coding and testing. Means here test refers to part of the programmer testing, not a QA tester. It was a small functions that programmer will do the testing before launching the product or before submitting to the QA testing team. So after the construction, the really important part was deployment. If you see, the last stage is deployment. It means support. What they're gonna do whenever the project built or project finished, they deploy it in some kind of a virtual server or in some places that they can see and they can run it. Like suppose if you see the Facebook, if you go through the browser, if you type Facebook login page, actually the result comes to you and you can log in, you can see the navigation of the Facebook page, you can see some sorts of like functionalities. These are guys are already code and they deploy it, they put it in some kind of virtual server so you can access it through the internet. These were the stages of the waterfall model, that it comes like a water, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. Now it was all about the what? It was all about the waterfall model. Till here, any questions? If you didn't get the point, you can ask it in the chat box directly.
So if I conclude, most of you come with the project management skills, or many of you might have worked with different organizations and companies throughout your career. What comes here when we are discussing the SDLC, it's nothing but think of it as a project that you will be working on. So those of you, first of all, know when you are getting a project, you have to communicate with the people around, like, you know, they are providing you with a project. So who comes in here? Basically, the project management will come in and communicate with regard to the requirements, and there is a overall a big picture of, you know, what do you need and how can you how we can help you to be in the business, right? And the second phase, once they decided, the senior management decided that, okay, we will now agreed to give you this project to develop, for instance, a web application. So what comes now, there is need for a development team, because it's not the job or the duty of the senior management, or maybe the project management guys who would be, most of them would have project management skills and not the development skills. So they need to bring the development team aside, the business analyst or that they have, and then they bring in and start working on, you know, they are working on to estimating, you know, how much would it cost, what resources are needed, how much time would it cost, what are the best mechanisms in order to track down the progress of our development of whatever, let's name it, a web application that we are having. And then after they plan in order to jumpstart, they need to do the modeling. So when we are talking with regard to the modeling, it mostly specifies and into some of the analysis, and they prepare their prototypes. They analyze, you know, what should be connected where, how should it particularly look. I mean, in terms of the language, what language would be a best way to use, you know. So these are all when they do it in the modeling and analysis and designing phase, and then they start coding, right? The construction, they code and test. So in here, two teams are here. We got the development team where the engineers, software engineers are developing the code, and as they go along, before it hits the production, the code needs to be tested step by step, because, you know, if we are, for instance, writing an essay and we are not considering the resources and references that we are using for writing that essay, at the end of the day, when we finish for instance, the essay, and then we realize, oh, I have to change these, and all of the sudden we don't know what comes from where, right? So everything should be tested from the scratch. When they start developing, every single portion of the code that a developer develops, while a developer is also required to test whatever he developed at the time, then he pushes it, and then after the review, that needs to be tested and configured. If any code changes needed to be done, the software testers are jumping in there and testing it, whether it has the same functionality that we estimated it, the same functionality that when we did the communication and our client asked us that it should be delivered, this should have this functionality, right? And that's where testers jump in and do the testing. And then we have deployment once the construction, or once we are done with the development and testing. Let me tell you that testing is not gonna end after the development. Once you do your development, it will not end there. Even before the code or the code hits the production, and it goes to to be to hit the market, it needs to be tested. Some of you guys might know, like when iPhone 14 arrived into the market, there was a glitch in the camera. Do you guys remember that? And only that glitch cost billions of dollars on the day that it was released. And they said, oh, the iPhone 14, its camera is glitching, and all of the sudden in the market, in the stock market, their value came in and down. And it is not something that it was, while we did fix the bug very soon. However, it cost billions of dollars, only that glitch. And these are the bugs, and these are the stuff that needs to be tested even after the production. And I mean, take a look. A simple person came in, opened the camera, he wanted to take a picture, and it's not working. Can anyone answer me, what is that testing called?
Manual testing.
Software testing.
Perfect. It's a manual testing. Furqan yesterday said, like, manual testing is there is a human effort involved in doing things, right? So in here, what you did, you open the phone, right? You open the camera, you try to take a picture, and all of the sudden you see that glitch. That is called manual testing. And we will study that with very in-depth. Any question here? I just wanted to, briefly talk about it, because I am in the development team and I work all day long with these stuff. So hope that makes a little bit of sense and clarity. Some of you might know right now, so when we use some of these phrases, that might not make sense to you guys, but first of all, I prefer that we should, when we do say SDLC, I prefer to say software development lifecycle, and then SDLC, and then we will know it, because these terminologies are part of our day-to-day life in the future. So know it first. If you don't know a term, please don't shy. Ask Furqan, ask me, or anyone else. So you go with open eyes. Don't wait until you have you go a little bit far and then jumping back. Okay. Furqan, floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much, Talash. Hope the point is clear, and Talash did explain very well and cover very most important points. So here we have a question that are we using it nowadays because it's an old pattern? No, we don't use it nowadays. Just we are covering for the sake of your information. As in today industries, people are using the last model of it. That will be a Scrum or Agile model. So we will be jumping to the next slide. And next slide, we have, okay, we have a question. And next slide, we have V model. Why, if we had a waterfall model at that time, why people were develop a V model pattern? Because at that time, waterfall model was not answerable, was not sufficient for the development of the software. Because whenever when you start the project in a waterfall model, so you cannot reverse back. You cannot do the things, means if any bug or any kinds of required changes come in requirements, so you cannot change it. Means you have to release or change every requirement in different releases. So you cannot change it or implement it directly on the spot whenever you were using waterfall model. For that reason, people come to know that, hey, this model is not nowadays working for us. We have to jump into the V model. V model was highly disciplined for the testing phase, as it has testing phase parallelly to each development phase. If you see the diagram, it flows from where? From the requirement analysis part. A requirement analysis, guys, nothing but a requirement gathering. That document, which I told you yesterday, that business analyst people will gather the information from the client. This was all about the requirement analysis that they will written down in a BRD document. At next level, we have high level design. Next stage was about high level. What is high level design means? Suppose if I'm taking Paint, let me escape. Let me open my Paint. Okay. High level design refers to, wait a second, take a brush. V model will flow like this. The initial part was starting from a requirement analysis from RA. Second stage was about what? High level design. High level design, HLD. So what in this step, what people do, for example, Algosoft company need a web-based application that have these sorts of functionality. Like we can do online meeting like Zoom. The meeting should auto record the section, or next. It has some AI functionalities that cut the noise, made some sort of like editing for us, like nowadays software thing. Like at the starting of the class, Talash introduced one platform that they can they can generate a video with avatar. You know, these sorts of stuff. These sorts of stuff are the main topic or main function. Like I need 8 main function in my project, or Algosoft need 8 main function for that. So that 8 main function will be decided in high level design. Okay, now next we have low level design. What is low level design? Low level design is nothing, guys, but whenever these 8 main functions, we can divide this 8 main function into subpart. Like first main function has 4 subfunction or 4 small function. So these 4 small function tied with what? Tied with one main function. So this is called low level design, that we can say low level design. This was about next stage. Now, if you go through the slide, we have the coding section. Now in a coding section will end in here. If you see in an intersection or curve that meets two sections with each other. Let me clear this one. Let me clear this section for you people. Now, if you see, parallelly with the requirement analysis, we have which system testing. System testing refers to requirement analysis, but the flow will start from where? The flow will start from here itself. It will come. Let me take the brush.
Furqan,
Yeah.
I think the brush will take a little bit of time, so you can do it the traditional way yesterday we did, right? That looked
Okay.
very nice and easy, quicker.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I will explain it from the slide. That will be more interactive. Okay. Now we have parallelly with each sections, we have testing sections also. If you see alongside the low level design, parallelly we have unit testing. Unit testing refer to programming testing. Programmers are testing their functions. Means suppose I am creating a small function of clickable area, like suppose the PowerPoint developer will create a function of design that whenever I hover the mouse on it, the color will get orange, and if I am clicking, some sort of slides will come to me. This is called a function. So this functions, whenever a programmer are testing on that, so this is called a unit testing. So whenever the programmer testing this design function, so this is called unit testing, and it is attached with low level design. Means in a Paint, when you see I draw something that my one main function has 4 sub small functions. So unit testing will be testing that small functions in a low level design part. And next, we have integration testing. Whenever you cross-check, integration testing is attached or parallel with the high-level design. So high-level design do what? High-level design, we told that we divide our whole project, our whole application into 8 main parts. So each of those main parts will be tested in integration testing parts. Last, we have system testing, which is parallel with requirement analysis. What does it do? It will start the testing from the software performance till the hardware specification of the system. Like this computer needs 2 GB of RAM, 4 GB of graphic, and this kinds of a processor, this generation, blah, 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 etc. Now we have to conclude this, that what does it mean V model? It will start whenever you do the requirement analysis. So the other team will do what? System testing. System testing means that they will assume that, okay, with this kind of requirement analysis, we need this kind of system, that this kind of specification system need to have inside that. With high level design, they will do the integration testing. With low level design, they will do what? They will do the unit, they will do the integration. With low level design, they will do the unit testing. At the end, if you see, the flow come directly from both sides towards the coding. Whenever last stage will be coding, and here at that time it was a little bit bug free. Means, and if we consider as a percent-wise, in waterfall model, you might face 60 to 70% bug, but they reduce that 60 to 70% back to 40% back in a V model. That was all about V model. And let's have a quick questions. Okay, do you have any questions in here?
So there are two concepts if you don't have a question, right? One, you did understand everything from A to Z, all 40 of our participants, or you did not understand anything about the V model. First of all, what is this model, right? Is it related to what, right? Is it part of what? Uh, Furqan did discuss the waterfall model briefly. He said it has no use, uh, very clear. So keep the class as much interactive as you can. As I said the other day, there is no silly questions at any time.
Yeah.
We are all here to learn step by step, step by step. Furqan,
Yeah.
let's go.
Great. Okay. We will jump into the next slide. That will be about incremental model. What does incremental model do? Let me do one thing. Model. See. Now, an incremental model, we have some phases that it starts from requirement, it's divided into belts, and after that, each belt have implementation. Why people uses this concept whenever we had V model? So at that time, after some years, engineers understand that, hey, V model is also not satisfy us in building a project of softwares. So at that time, they sit together again and they bring one another model that's called incremental model. That we will be using this incremental model, like they reduce the 40% of the bug to 30%. Means they make less 30%. Less than means 25 to 28%. The chance of bug will come in incremental model. What they do basically, they starts from, they get the requirement. This was first stage. Requirements will be gathered by the business analyst people. Next, whenever they sit, and here there is a one point that a requirement will be submitted to development team. Requirement is submitted to development team, that BRD document. Development team at that time would sit together and they plan and they divide the whole requirements. Suppose I need three main functionalities. So in here, each main functionality we divide to build. Means this build is nothing but first version or first release, or we can say first main function of my application. Like if you suppose if we get the example of WhatsApp, and WhatsApp only need what? Three type functionality, which I need voice call, I need video call, and I need only chatting option. So when you divide these into three sections, each of this will be called what? Will be called build. This is build 1, this is build 2, and this is build 3. So each of this stage will be first, whenever I made the voice call functionality, so I make the testing. I made the testing on that, and after that I implemented directly. Implementation means that I give to the customer that accessibility so that he or she can test it, whether the voice call is going on smoothly or it is making some kind of disturbance or errors. After that, when they get the satisfaction of the customer at that time, they will do what? They will move ahead with the next section, next build. Next build was about what? About making the voice call or video call. We did the voice call. Next stage was about the video call. So in video call, they first built the video call section, they test it again, and they made the implementation. Means they did the deployment. At a waterfall model, we studied that what is deployment. Last, they will go for the chatting section. They first built the chatting section. At that time, they test it again and they implement it. That was all about incremental model. In this stage, the customer or the client also involved in each phase or each build of the project. That was a little bit so interactive for the people who were submitting or who were asking to build these kinds sorts of software for us. They were very happy with this concepts at that time, actually. So this was all about the incremental model. Till here, do we have any questions? Let me check. The planning and designing phase and script. Okay. The disadvantage of the incremental model was, if you check in here in the slide, everything was started parallelly. In here, the client was not involved with the project development team. The client was not involved inside that. So that's why they made the incremental model. Let's have a next question. No, Ahmad Ziahutak, the planning phase and designing phase are not skipped. This is all wrapped up in where? In only requirement analysis phase. I told you that after the document submitted to the development team, they sit together and they made a plan and they divide each section, design and deployment. Everything was made in here. This portion of the system or this portion of the incremental model belongs to what? Belongs to the planning phase and designing phase. We made it short. Hope it is clear. Okay, let's move forward. Now, among those concepts, at last we have what? We have agile methodology. Now, it is one of the most usable and most famous methodology in the world that nowadays companies and software industries are using agile methodology. So agile is nothing like it's a work pattern or workflow that made the work very easy. What kind of functionality it has, we will go through the agile slides. So how they gonna start their working? We have a quick intro of the agile. Agile is a software development methodology to build software incrementally using short iteration of 1 to 4 weeks, so that development process is aligned with the chaining of business need. So what is this 1 to 4 week? We will cover on. What are these concepts? We will go through of them one by one. So we divide agile into 3 parts. We have Scrum, we have Kanban, we have XP, extreme programming. Like these 3 methods or these 3 patterns are very famous inside agile life cycle. So among of those, Scrum is very famous. I mean, 90% of the people are using Scrum. If you heard about the position that we're announcing in the internet, that we need a Scrum master, we need a Scrum developer, or we need a person who know Scrum framework. Scrum is nothing but the workflow or work pattern of the agile methodology, which is very famous. Alongside, Kanban is also agile methodology, which is using for specific projects. And XP is used very less, but it belongs to those development part or those software or those projects, which is like people never made it in the world for the it means that you're gonna meet for the first time, like ChatGPT. We can say ChatGPT is built on the XP or extreme programming concept methodology. Let's move to the next slide. We will cover, or we will talk about the Scrum a little bit more now. Okay, now
Furqan, before jumping into to the agile, to the Scrum and Kanban, can you go back into the previous slide 9? So here, So here we did discuss the incremental model, right? And if you take a look into the particular definition that we have, the agile software development methodology, you see certain terms reflected in here. First, they said that this methodology of software development is to build a software using the incrementally. See, it's already connected with our previous slide 8, right? So that means like whenever we were developing a software in the incremental model, so it takes a portion of the positives of incremental model here, and then they divide it, iterated right into short portions that, and then what comes here, then we will discuss in detail when Furqan discusses said like 1 to 4 weeks. It is like dividing those functions and activities into small pieces in order to, you know, align our activities or our coding into the need of the business at the time. As Furqan previously mentioned, that when we use the incremental model, it was we said that there is build 1, build 2, build 3. So keep in mind that a part of it, of the incremental model, comes here as well. Yeah, and then doesn't matter, like when now we can discuss the Scrum, Kanban, and XP. Hope this is clear. Sorry for the interruption.
No, it's okay. We have a question that what is the disadvantage of the incremental model? Mr. Samadi, the disadvantage of the incremental model was that the time period was not specific, means people were taking too much time in build 1, build 2, making these all main functions. Like the time was not specific for that. That's why it affects the cost of the company. Lagging means, and here the problem was only time. That's why they introduced the agile model. Hope it's clear. What is the difference between incremental and agile model? The difference between incremental, as you study incremental, and I explained that, and we will go with agile in next slide. So you will get the definition and difference as well. No worries at all. Okay. And next slide, we will be explaining a first Scrum or first pillar of the agile methodology. As I make it bullet point, it is very most popular agile framework. It is almost considered synonym to agile by most practitioners. Agile or Scrum only believes into 3 specific clear roles. First role is product owner, second role is Scrum Master, third role is the development team. Or we can say it is called the 3-3-5 framework as well. Why we call this 3-3-5 framework? If you consider this part section, 3 we have 3 roles, 3 artifact, and 5 event. So in roles, we have PO, product owner. We have Scrum Master, and we have development team. This is the first stage. What kinds of role we have? What is artifact? In artifact, we have product backlog, we have sprint backlog, and we have product increment. This is the next stage. And we have at last event, which will be sprint planning, daily Scrum, sprint review, sprint retrospective. What these concepts mean, or why we use it, why we using sprint instead of means time or duration, we will be discussing it in next slides.
Furqan, before we jump in, can we clarify when we are talking about the product owner?
Yeah,
what do we mean
explaining
particularly with the product owner? Do we mean it's
I'm explaining it.
The client? Okay.
Yeah, I'm explaining it.
Yeah.
I just get a quick review. That's why I will explain this concept in a pint. Okay. In Scrum, first we will discussing the roles. That what does product owner do? Product owner, we have Next, if we see the slide, we have Scrum Master and development team. Scrum Master. And we have what? Development or dev team. Product owner is the person that holds the position or the authority of the client. Means product owner is the person that working in a company, some senior that have experience of 25 to 30 years in development life cycles, and like he do the development part, he do the testing parts, he do the requirement analysis, he passes some he holds some higher position in previous in the company. So at least with this whole of the experience, with this concept, with product owner holds with this much of experience, they do what? They do or they act as a client. What they gonna do? Client come to the product owner and they do what? They will provide or deliver every and each requirement to the product owner, like business analyst people, we can say. So what they gonna do? They will grab everything and according to their experience, they will make some sort of documents like A, B, C, D functionalities. Okay, what they will do, they will hand over this document to Scrum Master. Scrum Master is the team leader or the project leader or the project manager, we can say. Or what they will do, they will divide this BRD or this document which is provided by the product owner, and they will make some sort of documents, like we can say FRD documents in detail. They will make some normalization, some database designing, some software architecture. They will do all the stuff in this document, FRD document. What they're gonna do?
What FRD stands for?
Functional
For
requirement document. FRD
Perfect.
stands for functional
Thank you.
requirement document, and BRD stands for business requirement document. Business
Yeah.
requirement documents will be provided by the customer to the product owner. This is our customer. They will provide to product owner. Product owner will make this document BRD, and after that BRD will be submitted to a Scrum Master. Scrum Master will make FRD from the BRD itself. So after that, this FRD will be submitted to development team. Development team will consist of the 5 people. Like we can say Agile or Scrum people are team of 7 person. Product
For
owner,
fun, you can use the text box in order to make it easier for you to write it down if this is making a little bit of disturbance until we have that code path available.
yeah, sure. Let me grab a box. Declare this. Scrum team. Seven people. In a Scrum team, there will be 7 people. First, product owner, Scrum Master, and development team. And development team, we have how many peoples? We have 5 people. 5 that working, or 5 developer, 5 programmer that will be working according to what? According this FRD, which is provided by the Scrum Master. And Scrum Master only holding the duty of clearing the path for development team, arranging some sort of equipment that they need. Whenever any kinds of requirement changes come to the documents or come into the product, so only the person that they can contact is Scrum Master. So if there will be some sort of changes in functionality that hey, we cannot implement this functionality in this situation to that software, it might be causes some memory leakage. So they will report, they will ask the Scrum Master, and Scrum Master will ask again product owner. It means that development team cannot contact directly product owner. They will contact who? They will contact first Scrum Master, and Scrum Master will contact product owner. We can say that Scrum Master is the bridge between the product owner, the development team. Now, if we can say that product owner in a simple word is a copy of the client. He is acting as a client, that I need this kind of functionality, I need this kind of functionality. Why? Because he had the experience of the 25, might be 30 years. So he know that what customer needs, and what the software will do, and what will be the need of end user. That was all about the product owner, Scrum Master, and the development team. So we have a question in here. Scrum Master is a person who arranges how things should be done, I guess. Yeah, definitely you're right. Scrum Master is the person who manages the development team and gets the document from the product owner. And he's the bridge between those two persons. Hope the concept of Scrum is clear for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, these are PO acts like the owner, I guess. Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Clear, thanks. Let's jump into the slide. Now we discussed that why it's 5 framework. 3 means it has 3 role. It has 3 artifact. Artifact, we will be discussing that what is product backlog, what's sprint backlog, what's product increment, and what is 5. 5 is events, that it has sprint planning, daily scrum, sprint review, sprint retrospective. So we will stop right there, guys, because we will not go that much fast. These concepts need to be covered very clearly so that we can finish it up. So the next session, we will be covering the terminology that belongs to the artifacts, event, Kanban, and extreme programming. We will be covering those concepts. So a quick review we will do. Today we will study SDLC. We study waterfall model. What does waterfall model do? That it has communication section, planning section, modeling section, construction, and deployment. The problem was that once the plan was made, we cannot change in a waterfall model. Next, we did V model. Why V model come to the picture? Because the waterfall model has some defects, like people cannot go reverse back. So that's why they made a V model for that. And V model doing that whenever you're planning, your testing get parallelly with that each and every step. Next, incremental model come to the picture, that the satisfaction was not get by the V model. So that's why incremental model come to the picture, that they divide each part or each function in a belts and testing, and after that they implement that. And whenever they see that, hey, this is also not satisfy our requirement, so they jump into the agile model. Nowadays agile model are fully functional. If in future they introduce some other concepts, some other patterns, that will be in future. Till now we only are following the agile methodology. And agile methodology, the famous methodology is the Scrum one, that 90% of the stakeholder or tech companies are using that. So hope it is clear till this point. Any questions? You can ask it in the chat box directly.
So basically, whatever we are discussing right now, the aim is to familiarize you with the environment of the tech industry. Many of you might have worked in a lot of projects with different, type of work. For instance, I did work in the rule of law projects. I did work in the local governance. They are all set up one way or the other differently. Some of you might have worked in an engineering construction company. Some of you might have worked somewhere else, but every single institution, they have processes that they need to know before they jump in, right? So if you were a lawyer and you joined, for instance, the Attorney General's office, the first thing first, they would do what we do, right? And they explain you how things are being done, what goes where, who is responsible for what, right? We have, for instance, the prosecutor, and then the prosecutors, there are defense prosecutors, there are, for instance, primary prosecutors, there are investigative prosecutors. So every single of them have their own responsibility, right? If you take a look into, if you are coming with a engineering background, you were a civil engineer or you were a doctor, let me give you another example. For a civil engineer, you might have had a supervisor who or a project manager who was representing the project. He was continuously in contact with the project owners, right? Those, they provided them with the project and the beneficiaries of the project. Then they had their own structure. There was one team leader and another supervisor, then head engineer, and then there was another engineer. And then they were communicating through different tools and stuff in order to make the work functional and have, at the end of the day, a fruitful and juicy result out of their project. So whatever we discussed for the past 2 days, except whatever we had the definition with regard to the software, and we jumped into the types of software. We haven't touched yet Furqan, types of softwares, right?
Actually, we will be touching those after STLC.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So one way or the other, we did discuss these things because we should know the flow, the processes that are involved before we jump in and we claim to be a software tester or software development and test engineer. We need to specify our position. We need to specify our role, right? So this is very important for us. While these are overall business, general business concepts specified and related to the tech industry. Okay, while there are a couple of tools that can be used in any other institutions as well. When we are discussing the sprints, right, if that's something general, like sprint is nothing but that's a planning phase where you put 5 team of developers, for instance, they come together and they say, okay, I see this work will be done by me, you assigned it to me, and I'll be able to do it in 3 days. And they will identify whether it's hard or it's easy to be done. Then they will specify the time frame for it. They will provide some description into it, like how it should be done and how would I be doing it once they did it, right? So this is sprint, nothing else. Same that applies to any other. If you did work somewhere else, right, same thing applies. You must have a monthly plan, and from that monthly plan you have to draw a weekly plan, and then your daily plan goes into effect. So I mean, don't think about it to be something very different than of stuff that you have already worked with. It's nothing else. And even I did not come from a software development background. I have never been to university or a college to study software development. But one thing to remind you all, it's all connecting dots. As we go right now, when Furqan explains stuff and I put a little bit of light on it and describe you stuff, and the moment I was explaining, you realize, oh, your mind already tingling, putting light. So I was working here, we had a project manager, we had this guy, we had this project, the project has a document, right, which we have to follow, that there were deliverables that we need to deliver, there were tasks that we had to complete. And if one team what would be responsible for one section, the other team. It's nothing, the same concepts, but there are some different terminologies at this particular moment that might be, when we call about the FRD, functional requirement document, or whatever. these are only the terminology specific to this industry. If you or you were a doctor, you were an engineer, whatever you studied, for instance, law, or you were an accountant or whatever, you did experience all these terms, and you would not learn these terms in one day. It requires time. It requires, as we go, they will be repeated, and then they will be in your mind. So with that, we will take questions. Farhan, you can stop the recording as well if not needed.
Yeah, sure.
Mhm.